The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 30. And it came to pass, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded Negev and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag, and burned it with fire, and had taken the women captives that were therein. And they slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away, and went on their way. And so David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their women and their daughters and their sons were taken captives. This is something to remember. And I've said this many times to the daughters of Zion. You better be careful talking about you don't need anybody to protect you. These were David's women. These were the men who were following David, their families. And they were left unprotected. And this is what happened. The enemy came in and took them. And Yahuwah is the same Yahuwah that was there, that's here now. And so for all of those of you who want to conflate this word and take this word out of, and make it fit your theology, just remember, that's your theology, that is not the word of Yahuwah. And if he does not change, then he's not changing for you. And so, again, they left the women unprotected. The enemy came in, and the enemy took them. And if Yahuwah does not change, when the enemy comes in this time, you're unprotected, you're going to get taken. But let us go on and continue here. Verse 4. And then David and all the people that were with him lifted up their voice, and they wept, until they had no more power to weep. And David's two women were taken captive, Achino, Am the Jezreelite, and Abigail, the woman of Nabal, the Carmelite. It's interesting when they say Abigail, the woman of Nabal. It's just like when he says Uriah, the husband of Abigail, or Bathsheba, I'm sorry. Because a lot of times when you're reading that story, a lot of the understandings that many are taken away from that story is not the correct interpretation of the story. I'm not going to teach on that. I've taught on it before. But just because you will reference somebody as someone else's wife does not mean that that particular person is in violation. David was not in violation when he took Abigail. I'm not saying he wasn't in violation when he took Bathsheba, but when he just associates that woman with a man. Because again, she's a part of what Yahuwah would call his possession. And until Yahuwah approves it, she will always be assigned to that man. But just to be addressed, until he disapproves it, or I say disannul it, that's a better way to say it. And Yahuwah has to disannul that, not the woman. But let's go on here. Verse 4. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice, and they wept, until there was no more power to weep. And David's two women were taken captives. I've already given you their names. Pick up verse 6. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him. They wanted to kill this righteous man. And so again, this is another nugget, brothers and sisters. Just because, you are doing what is right does not mean you're not going to be under attack. Because a lot of us have this mentality that, oh no, if Yahuwah is with me, no weapon formed against me will prosper. Correct. But he did not say weapons would not come against us. I'm a living witness of that fact, brothers and sisters. But the book in Zechariah says, what he takes in that Zechariah said, the wicked slay the just, or attempt to slay the just, but they hold themselves not accountable. Just remember, just because you're going through something, my dear brothers, and sisters, to you to some degree, for you as well to some degree, does not mean that Yahuwah has forsaken us. Sometimes it is a part of a process to strengthen us, to reveal to us who we are, whether we are courageous or whether we are cowards, whether we will trust him completely or will we, like a dog returning to the vomit, go back to what we consider or stay where we consider a place of safety. Cowards take the latter. People of courage take the former. They are progressive, not regressive. They don't flee when no one is pursuing them. They're righteous, as the Proverbs say, bold as lions. Hallelujah. But let's continue on here. Verse 6, continuing. And the people spoke of killing David, because the soul of the people were very upset, every man for his son and his daughters. But David encouraged himself in Yahuwah. David actually believed what the scripture said. When the scripture says no weapon formed against us will prosper, David believed that. He said, even though this situation is a bad situation, I'm very upset about this situation. It's very unjust. It is unrighteous. But I know one thing. Yahuwah says this: vengeance is mine. I know one thing. Yahuwah says that when the enemy comes in like a flood, I will be with you. I know again, Yahuwah says no weapon formed against me will prosper. I know again that one will put 1,000 to flight, 2, 10,000 to flight. I know again, I will not be afraid by the terrorists. I will not be afraid of the terrorists by night or the arrows by day. I don't care if they do call me a terroristic threat. That's probably a good title. I should have a title that, hey, they called him a terroristic threat. I mean, he stood up for himself and was ready to F things up if he had to protect what he felt was righteously his, as David and these men are doing. But again, that's a story you won't know much about unless you already know about it. Let's continue on. And for his daughters, but David encouraged himself in Yahuwah Almighty. And David said to Abiathar, the priest, Achimelech's son, I pray you bring me hither the ephod. This is really saying, let's go before Yahuwah and petition him. And Abishai brought there the ephod to David. And David inquired of Yahuwah, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, but you shall surely overtake them. And without fail, you're going to recover all. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuwah, my dear brothers and sisters, of the DFG. I thought this would be a pretty good place to start. You know, with all of the things that are going on, you know, around us. You know, we were told many times, if you've been following this teaching, because Yahuwah is speaking to this prophet, that a time would come, or what we would say here is that winter was coming. A time like no other time that most of you all have seen in your lifetime. A time where mayhem would be praised. Craziness would be everywhere. People, you know, approving every kind of abomination that comes to their mind. People full of plagues and diseases. You know, they took that jab. People looking around, well, you know, when are the plagues going to come? The plagues are already here, brothers and sisters. These people, but let's just say this. The plague that's in so many people's bodies, when that plague starts to take full control over their mental faculties, you're going to see cannibalism, you're going to see mass murder, you're going to see people killing up their families, killing up their children, killing up people, you know, for reasons that people in times past would have never thought that the answer was to slaughter and kill or mayhem. And you're going to see much worse than that. Exactly when that plague starts to really affect their mind, what did Deuteronomy 28 and 28 says, brothers and sisters? He says it's going to be a what? A madness. Like Yahuwah will strike them with madness. This is part of one of the curses, brothers and sisters, for those who rejected Yahuwah's Torah. Those who assault and go against Yahuwah's Torah, go against Yahuwah's chosen righteous remnant. Yahuwah says that they have no idea of the desolation and the destruction that's coming upon them. We're living in a time now where Yahuwah is revealing to us the murderers and the heathens face to face again. I want you to think about this. You're looking at a nation, United States of America, that literally went to another country and said publicly that they're stealing their petroleum, they're stealing their natural resources, and not anybody going to do a damn thing about it. And not only that, those heathens who made the decision to go and be a part of that are backed up by a bunch of other heathens that many of you and I see right here walking among us every day that have no problem with that type of thievery. This book, what does Sirach tell us, dear brothers and sisters? Sirach, you know, which is Ecclesiastes, what does it say? Chapter 20, verse 25. It says a thief is worse than a liar, but they both will meet destruction. These are thieves. Thieves. And the people are celebrating thievery. And most of you are celebrating it right along with them because you haven't opened up your damn mouth and said a damn thing about it. Because you see where you're going to benefit from it. If that's whatever it takes for us to survive, well, then let them do it. Then you're nothing but a scorched earth predator, and you're just as guilty as they are. You're just like these heathen Edomites who want to say, I didn't have anything to do with slavery, but you're benefiting from it right now. And yet you want to tell us you have nothing to do with that. Well, why aren't you saying something about something that you have to do with? You know this country has gone into another country and stolen their resources by force. And you're not saying anything about it because you're going to benefit from it. That's exactly what your ancestors did to our ancestors in enslavement. And just like you said then, you know, I've got nothing to do with it, but I'm benefiting from it. You're doing the same thing now. What did David tell King Saul? In the book of 1 Samuel, I think it's chapter 24. He said, Saul, you are wicked. He said, not only are you wicked, Saul, he said, from wickedness comes wicked. From the wicked come wickedness. He said, you're just like your forefathers, Saul. And he references just like those of the ancient times. And he was talking about Joshua chapter 7 and 48, brothers and sisters, where he was talking about Nimrod's son. And the people said about Nimrod's son, he was wicked, murdering. He said, murdering is just as wicked as his wicked parents are. And this is many of these people right here walking among us today, brothers and sisters, who profess that, oh no, I'm not like my parents. I'm not like them. I'm different. But here it is again for them to prove it out, to show they're not like them. And what they're doing, they're showing that they are exactly like them. And if you are supporting that, or you haven't spoken out against that, or you haven't done anything about that, Yahuwah says you are just as guilty as they are. And I'm going to tell you something, brothers and sisters. If you're waiting for these heathens to take a stand up against Trump or this government for what they did, you don't hold your breath. I'll tell you again, don't you hold your breath. They're not going to open their mouth because they're just as vicious and just as murderous, and they approve it. Their silence is their approval. But Yahuwah said recompense is his. You think Yahuwah going to let these demons get away with this? I'm talking about his word is true. You can't be a hood rat, a hood, mafia, cabal, thieving, murderous nation and not think that Yahuwah does not see this? In the country of Venezuela, there are Israelites there. Probably a few righteous remnant are sitting over there, as we're scattered all over this earth. But Yahuwah said also what? That he's going to be pulling us from what? The four corners of the earth. If you listen to the message on this past Shabbat, you hear Elder talking about it. He says, I'm going to gather you from everywhere. And he's going to gather us from everywhere because he's going to destroy everything. And if you happen to be sitting in the line of fire when Yahuwah bring that fire down on this earth, then you're going to get destroyed right along with those heathens. This is why, again, you need to make up your mind, brothers and sisters, where you're going to be and who you're going to be with. I'll say it to you again. You better make up your mind where you're going to be and who you're going to be with. Because there are many of our brothers, well, no, I'm going to hold pat. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to wait and see what happens. It's going to be far too late for you. Far too late. You will say, I'm going to send my prophet to warn you. You better listen to him. You better do exactly what he says. And if you refuse to do so, then you are in rebellion, and Yahuwah will deal with you accordingly. Now, I've heard from a few of you, you're asking, well, Elder, I'm looking for a place to be, a place to go. And I'm sitting there looking at you like, what? All this talking that I've been doing and telling you that the people who Yahuwah has put under my cover are coming where I am. And you're asking, where should I be going? I'm going to tell you something, dear brothers and sisters. If you're an outlier or you caught, behind enemy lines, don't be shocked when the enemy ravish you, destroy you, molest you, eat you, burn you alive, hang you, disembowel you, and anything else they want to do to you. They've done it before. Because you got caught behind enemy lines. You were supposed to be gathered. You were supposed to follow leadership. You were supposed to follow the authority that Yahuwah has set before us. And he's always going to have authority and leadership before Yahshua, at least the righteous remnant. At least, well, for all of Yahshua, but only the righteous remnant will follow that leadership. So you don't have to ask me where to go. You should be asking me where we're going. Because I can show you, just like David went before Yahuwah, and he said, shall I go? And Yahuwah said, yeah, go, pursue, get. Then guess what, brothers and sisters? That time has come. That time has come. But just like, you go through the book, you read, look, let's do this let's follow me for a moment, brothers and sisters. Again, think about what's going on all over this flat earth. Look about what's going on in Russia, going on in China, going on in Africa, going on in South America, going on in Australia. See, a lot of you don't hear about what's going on over there because you're not close enough, and a lot of that news is not being shared. But there's all kind of mayhem going on in Australia. Look what's going on in Greenland. Look what's going on in what's the other one? Switzerland. Those youngsters went in there, and that fire came down and burned them all alive. That's over there where CERN is supposed to be, remember? Yahuwah is using all these, how would you say, events as a warning. He's warning every one of us that you had better wake up and you had better make a damn decision before he makes it for you. A whole lot of our people, what does the word say, between two opinions, brothers and sisters? They sit around and they wait and they wait and they wait. As though somehow or another, Yahuwah is going to do something particularly for them because they have a relationship with Yahuwah. Well, here's the question I'll ask you. You just heard me read that when all of this stuff was going on here in Zigzag, David and his men, they come back from, fighting for a foreign army, I might add. And Yah said, you're not going to attack your own people, David. So he had the enemy send him back. And all of those men who were with David. And when they got back and they found that their women, their sons, their daughters were taken, you notice that the only one that went before Yahuwah was David. There were hundreds of people with David, hundreds of men. But the only one that was connected in the right way in his heart was David. Yet all these men were following David. If they were following David, then why weren't they equally seeking Yahuwah? Because Yahuwah did not anoint them. He anointed David. See, that's the power of leadership. Yah's anointed. He's not going to talk to all those men. He's going to put inside that one man what that man should do for the rest of them. And because they were following David, everything that happened to David happened to them, including the blessings. We'll go farther into this story and you'll see what I'm saying. But I want to stop for a point of clarification. You see, because there's this ignorance in Yahshua where everybody thinks, oh no, I can go to Yahuwah on my own. I don't need to do this. I can do this all by myself. Well, you're going to find out the hard way, you made a mistake. You were in error. See, Yahuwah is not the author of confusion. He's not going to have, 5 people over here telling them one thing and 10 people over there telling them something different. And if he's going to tell the 5 people here the same thing and the 6 people over there the same thing, then why would he do that when he could just tell one person everything and everybody follows him? You make that make sense. This book talks about the people coming together, talking about that very small righteous remnant that Yahuwah is going to pull us from everywhere. We're going to be together in one place, and we're going to be following, yes, a man. And some of you, that just burns your ass up. You just can't stand the fact that you got to follow somebody. I'm talking about you men and you women. It just eats at your inner selfish pride. I got to follow somebody? Well, you don't have to follow anybody. But if you want Yahuwah's blessing, yeah, you got to follow somebody. If you want his protection, you're damn right you have to follow somebody. Because he ain't changing for you. He said, I'm going to put who I say I'm going to put in charge. And that's who you listen to. Here's a classic example of it. Follow me over. Let's go over to the book of Deuteronomy. Not the book of Jasher, brothers and sisters. Hallelujah. Let's look over here at let's go over to chapter 80. And if you've been following, these teachings here, you already know where I'm going. Hallelujah. Book of Jasher. Chapter, again, 80, verse 37. Hallelujah. It reads, now I want you to understand this in context for which I am sharing with you, brothers and sisters. Again, look what's going on all over this earth. Plundering, stealing, robbing, all kind of threats of nuclear violence, all kind of threats of diseases. These heathens, as we already know, those who can afford to, they're already underground. They're already in their bunkers. They already got their steel walls up. They're storing their silver. They're storing up their gold, putting it in vaults and everywhere else. They're using the heathens among us to get you to invest in the gold so the gold can go higher, the silver can go higher, so that they can enrich themselves at your expense. That's the Charles Dawes for all you, silver gold hustlers out there. When you should be thinking about your soul. David wanted to say that Torah of Yahuwah is worth more than all the silver and gold in the world. But you're letting these hustlers hustle you. You're part of a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, they want you to buy it, because when you start buying it, the price goes higher and higher. And they're going to hoard it, because the more they hoard it and make it scarce, the scarcity of it, you can't get it so easily, just drive the price up. That's what they're doing, to enrich themselves. Not to convince you that you need to get away from currency. No, it's to enrich themselves by exploiting you and taking advantage of you and making you afraid of having currency. So go buy gold, go buy silver, and the price goes up higher and higher and higher. And those who are hoarding, it gets richer and richer and richer at your expense. Because what little you buy, you got to ask yourself to care. Who you going to barter that with? Who you going to go to? And what you going to trade it for? Cash? Cash that you say is not worth anything? Or they tell you it's not worth anything, and you believe and you buying that. So you're going to buy all this silver, and you're going to turn it into what? I'm sure not more silver. What good is the silver if you can't purchase? So you're just going to give them some silver bars, and they're going to sit down and say, man, I got me a bunch of silver bars, and I gave him a house, and I just got my silver bar. Can you eat the silver bar? Can you drink the silver bars? Can you sleep? Well, some of you probably think you can sleep on the silver bar. Can they keep you warm at night? Can they fight your battles? Will Yahuwah stop and say, well, that's silver and it's gold, and that's greater than anything else. It's greater than your soul. See, these are the things that they don't want you to think about. And because many of our brothers and sisters got that plague in their bodies, you're not even able to think about this anymore. You're not even able to comprehend it. Most of our people are not even paying attention to it, brothers and sisters. If the Creator is a just Creator, you really think He's going to let America go around robbing all these people, stealing their resources, stealing, their wealth, and not hold America accountable for it? You have to really be believing in the heathen's God to believe that's going to happen. But then most of you are Christians, so of course you believe that foolishness. Your New Testament converts. But if you really knew Yahuwah's way, you would know goodness and well. He's an Elohim of recompense. It's an eye for an eye, a life for a life with him. You don't go around killing and stealing and mass murdering and not expect to be held accountable. What does Joel tell us? And I'm going to go to Joshua, but look what the book of Joel tells us. He says what? I'm going to restore everything that you have stolen from the people. So I'm going to restore everything that the cankerworm, the palmer worm, and the caterpillar has taken. He said, I'm going to restore it to those people that it was taken from. So you think for 1 second, he's not going to hold America accountable for what it's doing to all these other countries all over this flat earth? Of course he is. Hallelujah. Y'all excuse me for a second here. Enemy, you ain't going to win. All of a sudden, you want to move the phone. The phone was nice and stable. I'm not moving. Why are you moving, phone? You ain't going to get out of this message. This message is going to happen. Hallelujah. So Satan, I rebuke you. I bind every evil spirit all around here trying to discourage this message. You're not winning. Your will be done here. And for you righteous remnant, you continue to listen. The rest of you wicked, you make a decision on where you going to go and what you going to do. But he says, I'm going to restore everything that was stolen. So you think that America can scorch earth, this whole earth, and nobody's going to hold America accountable for it? Yeah, no man is, but the Creator will. And they can boast and they can brag about this and brag about that and their military and their comfortable life and their cush and whatever it is they want to say. They can say whatever they want to say. At the end of the day, it does not matter. Yahuwah says, vengeance is mine and I am going to repay. And my dear brothers and sisters, for all of you out there who think that somehow or another you can sit back and you can make up your mind when you get ready to make up your mind, this is where I'm going. Look at Jasher, chapter 80, verse 37. It says, verse 36, and Yahuwah sent darkness upon Egypt, and that the whole land of Egypt and Petra became dark for 3 days, so that no man can see his hand when he lifted it to his mouth. This is no more in the day's time than an EMP strike, brothers and sisters. Look it up. You're talking about dark. It would be so dark you couldn't see the hand before your face. It'd be darker than this shirt that I have on. But let's continue on. It says, and at that time when that darkness happened, at that time when this darkness coming, when this darkness hit, all of those who out there, thinking that you can just hang out in your houses, hang out, with your spouses or hang out wherever you hanging out alone, this is what's going to happen. He says, at that time died many of the people of Yasharel. Now remember, Egypt is the place that Yahuwah is judging, but Yasharel is being judged in Egypt. Why? Well, here's why. At that time, verse 37, at that time died many of the people of Yasharel who rebelled against Yahuwah and who would not listen to Moses and Aaron and believed not in them that Yahuwah had sent them. Now, how many of you fit that description? You don't believe that Yahuwah has sent me. You think that I'm just some fly on the wall, some nobody trying to, tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. And just like you don't believe, they didn't believe. So your unbelief or you're not trusting no man or whatever, hey, that might sound to you as something novel, very courageous. But you're not saying anything different than your ancestors who are also in the land of their captives. They said exactly what you're saying right now. So beware of your own thoughts. He said the people that rebelled against Yahuwah, 37, and would not listen to Moses and Aaron and believe not in them that Yahuwah had sent them, and all who said, this is what you say, or said, hallelujah. We're going to keep doing this because we ain't stopping. It lays down, I'm going to straighten it back up. All who had said, we will not go forth to Egypt, or we will not leave Egypt. I'm not leaving my house. I'm not leaving my city. I'm not leaving my job. I'm not leaving this wicked-ass woman I'm with. I'm not leaving this wicked-ass man I'm with. Of course, you won't call them wicked, but although they're rebellious, they don't keep this Torah. They don't follow nothing. They follow themselves. So in the eyes of Yahuwah, they're wicked. And if you're co-joined with them, then you're just as wicked as they are. And he said, and who had said, verse 38, this is what the people said, we will not go forth from this place, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness. And who would not hearken to the voice of Moses? And this is what people are saying. I'm not going with you, Elder DFG. You know, you got enough to take care of all of us? Well, you don't. Whether I have enough to take care of us or not, I guarantee you, Yahuwah does have enough to take care of us all night. And to my recognition, or my recollection, Moses and Aaron didn't own a damn thing when they were going to the people and telling them to leave. And those who listened to Moses, I don't remember any of them asking Moses how much he had. They didn't concern themselves with pettiness like that. They were thinking about their souls. They were thinking about being free. They were thinking about being removed from this system of wickedness so that the judgment that was happening all around them would not happen to them. That's what their priority was. But Yahuwah made sure they had everything they needed, though. And he didn't give it to them beforehand either, by the way. They got it when they got where they were going. They received it when they reached the place that Yahuwah wanted them to go. And as they were leaving, because they were trusting Yahuwah, Yahuwah made sure they had what they needed. He sent, the righteous Yahshua. He sent the preserves or the reserves. Even some of the enemy, reserves were given unto them. David said, I'm old and I was young. This is Psalm chapter 37, verse 25. David said, I'm older man, but I was young. He said, I've never seen the righteous forsaken. So if you're righteous, why are you worrying about what you're going to get or what you have or what you refuse to give? What you can't afford to give. You should be giving in the name of Yahuwah's manifestation of blessing everything that you give. That's what you really should be thinking about. But if a selfish heart can't think about nobody but self. And that's what these people were doing. When Moses said, we're going to the wilderness, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to stay right here where I am. Okay. That was the worst decision you could have ever made. It was the worst decision. That's the worst decision that you can make. And that's definitely the worst decision that they could have ever made. Because look what Yahuwah says. Verse 38. And who said, we will not go forth from Egypt, lest we perish with hunger in the desolate wilderness. And he would not hearken to the voice of Moses. And Yahuwah plagued them. Yahshua, he put a plague on their asses. He said, Yahuwah plagued them in the 3 days of darkness. And Yahshua buried them in those days without the Egyptians even knowing of them or rejoicing over them. And that darkness was very great in Egypt for 3 days. And every person who was standing when that darkness came remained standing in his place. And he that was sitting remained sitting. And he that was lying continued lying in the same state. And he that was walking remained sitting upon the ground in the same spot. And this thing happened to all of Egypt until the darkness had passed away. But Yahuwah did not let Yashrael escape. The same judgment he brought upon Egypt, he brought upon Yashrael, who refused to follow leadership. Who took the position that, how do I know Yahuwah is talking to them? How do I know Yahuwah is talking to him? But see, if you were walking and you're doing the things that you were supposed to be doing, you would already know who Yahuwah's anointed is. That would be a question you would be having to ask. But when you're over there doing it your way, you're over there perverting this word, lying on Yahuwah, saying that Yahuwah is talking to you when he isn't, because you want him to be. That's what's going to happen to you. As I said many times before, a lot of our people think they're talking to Yahuwah, brothers and sisters. If this phone falls over, I'm going to straighten it back out, so don't go anywhere. They talking to devils, thinking they're talking to Yahuwah. And they really are convinced it's Yahuwah too, by the way. Why? Because Yahuwah give them over to a reprobated mind, because of their rebellion. Yah has already told them people and told many of you who you should be following. And you better believe he's going to tell you to follow somebody. All this stuff about I don't follow nobody, that's you talking to yourself. or that's this heathens talking to you, or the heathens that live amongst you who are trying to scare you, cause fear, and y'all going to destroy them for lying on him. Because Yahuwah said, I'm going to have a prophet, and you follow him as I, lead him. And there's under no circumstance that anybody be offended about following leadership. There is not a country or a statesman or anywhere on this flat earth where people don't follow their leaders. It's only when it comes down to Israel you start to hear our people coming up, with this type of, simple-minded, mindset about not following anybody. That is ludicrous. That's flat out uninformed. That is totally a people who are destitute of wisdom. You tell me what nation doesn't follow their leadership. And so unless you think that you're a part of Egypt, modern day, that you're going to follow Egypt, modern day, and therefore Egypt, modern day, is your leadership, then who are you following? Because you can't be between two opinions. So if you want to follow America and you want to follow, America's leadership, which is what you're doing anyway, most of you, and you want to reject Yahuwah's leadership, then just expect that whatever Yahuwah does to America, he's going to do it to you. Because he said he would. This book says, I am Yahuwah, I change not. That's why all of us in Yashrael are not destroyed. That's Malachi 3 and 6. Yahuwah said, if it were not for the very few righteous remnant amongst you all, us, the righteous remnant, I'm talking to you now, brothers and sisters. He said this place would be like Sodom and Gomorrah. You can read that in the book of Isaiah chapter 1. Start reading at verse 8, 9, 10, 11. He says only because of us, he hadn't already burned this place down. But he says he's about to do it, and he's going to gather us. That's why David said in zigzag, Yahuwah, shall I go? Shall I pursue? Is it time to leave? And Yahuwah said, yeah, go, pursue. And he said, and everything is going to be restored to you, David. Even though the rest of the men around David were doubting David's leadership, questioning his leadership, threatening his life. David had taken the same losses they had taken. But they didn't seem to realize that. They didn't want to, recognize his pain. But they were benefiting from being with David. The whole time these men were with David, they were constantly being blessed. You can read the stories of David before David became king, and you will see David in many places, including the situation of how Abigail became his wife. How that David was fighting to feed the men that were with him, and the women, and the daughters, and the sons that were with him. This is why the whole confrontation happened with David and Abigail's husband. Because David had sent men to Abigail's husband and say, hey, I need you to give us some of your access to feed my people. And what did Abigail's husband tell him? I don't have to give you nothing. Who are you? I know about you, David. You're on the run from Saul. What makes you so special that I got to give you my stuff? You didn't work for this stuff, David. I built this, David. I built this stuff that I have, David. All this stuff you see is my stuff, David. And what do you who will do to him? And his stuff. So no, those that have that mentality, that behavior about, they don't have to, do anything, or that they don't trust Yahuwah's prophet, then guess what? Or his anointed, better said in David's case at this particular time. Yahuwah said, you're doing the same thing your ancestors did. He said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, but you're not. These men never repented about killing David. They didn't put their hands on David because Yahuwah said, you ain't touching my anointed. I'm talking about in terms of physically harming him. They threatened his life. They did. But not one of them picked a stone up. Because I can assure you, if they had picked up a stone and went at David, Yahuwah would have killed their asses on the spot. But let's go back. But I just wanted to give you a reference point. All you were talking about, I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying put. I feel comfortable where I am, then stay. I'm going to tell you something. Well, you know what Ezekiel said in chapter 33? He said they will know, you will know, the people will know there was a prophet among them, and yes, they will know. You know what that, when he says they will know, he said they will know there was a prophet among them, and then he goes on and say, and yes, they will know. You know what that second, they will know, means that they're going to regret it. That's not mean that when something happens, they're going to look back and say, you know what, Elder DFG was right. Everything he said came to pass. It's not going to be that easy, brothers and sisters. They're going to live to regret not listening. What does that mean? That you're going to suffer miserably for not listening. That's what, when Ezekiel said they will know there was a prophet. And yes, they will know. He's saying they're going to regret that they had ever shunned, turned back, or didn't listen. That all that pretending and faking about, you know, how much you love the work, you love elder, you love, and you were nothing but a scoundrel. You didn't mean it. And that's okay, because you're not the first one to tell lies. And you're probably not going to be the last. But you better remember, Yahuwah's writing everything down with a fine tip pen. That you said and that you did. Oh yeah, and what you thought. And you still have the audacity. Yahuwah said, I'm going to always have a prophet for my people. And you questioning that? Well, if I'm not the prophet, then you better go find the prophet, brother. If I'm not the one called of Yahuwah, you better go find him, because that's where you better be with. Because if you get caught behind enemy's gate, y'all say he's going to tear your ass up. So you better make a decision. If it ain't me, you better find out who it is, and you better get over there. And I hope you choose well, and I hope you choose right. But let's see what happened with the people who trusted, and followed David. Let's get on back. Back to 1 Samuel chapter 30. Picking back up where I left off at. Let's go to verse 8 again. And David inquired of Yahuwah, saying, shall I pursue? Not the men, just David. The men were too busy over there worrying about themselves because they were selfish, like many of you are. You don't care about the work of Yahuwah, you only care about yourself. As long as you can benefit. You don't care about what happened to Yahuwah's prophet or Yahuwah's anointed, no more than these men cared about what was going to happen to David, because they were threatening to kill him. And they were following him and threatening to kill him. They had been blessed, again, when he went over to Naboth, Abigail's husband, and got all of those resources that Abigail, the righteous daughter of Zion, a true righteous daughter of Zion, who eventually became his wife, at least one of them, that one, she did what was right. She didn't let her self-preservation cause her not to do what is right. She didn't let her pride and her arrogance cause her to stand down. No, she got up and she initiated. She made things happen. She didn't wait for somebody else to tell her what to do. She took the initiative and got it done. Because she understood that that was a righteous man, and that is the man of Yahuwah. For whatever he caused his situation to be that he was in, she looked at that. That does not matter. Yahuwah is with that man. I heard all about him. I heard how he fought that giant. I heard how that he fought a bear to protect Yahuwah's people, or his sheep that he was responsible for. Same thing. I heard he fought off a lion to defend what Yahuwah had given him responsible to defend. He said, no, I know all about David. And guess what? I'm going to make sure David gets whatever he needs, and I don't give a damn if my husband or anybody else disapproves of what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it anyway. That's what her heart was like. And David didn't forget her for her graciousness, for her unselfish giving. And when the time came, he remembered Abigail, and he took Abigail and brought Abigail with him. And Abigail stayed with David for the rest of her life. And there are no stories of anything ever happening to Abigail other than being blessed with David. giving him seed. But I don't want to, that's not the point of this message, but that's inside of this truth. And I don't want that to be marginalized. So you daughters of Zion who are standing and supporting and helping David, me, our David, then Yahuwah sees what you're doing. You keep doing what you're doing. And don't let anybody discourage you. Don't let your man discourage you, your friends discourage you. Because they tried to discourage Abigail. Abigail didn't listen to them. She said, I don't care what y'all say. I know what I'm going to do, and I'm doing it. And she said to David, you can read about that in 1 Samuel chapter 25. She said, just when you become king, don't forget about me. David did one up. When she became a widow, David didn't forget about her before he became king. Yahuwah recompensed her for the good that she had done for him. In his time of need, she made sure he got what he needed, and in her time of need, he made sure she got what she needed. It's called recompense. This is what Tobit chapter 4 and 11 says. It says, in your day of necessity, Yahuwah will bless you. But if you don't, in your day of necessity, Yahuwah will allow you to die. But let's pick on back up. Verse 9. Verse 8. And he answered him and said, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them. This is Yahuwah talking to David, not the rest of the men, just David. But the rest of the men who are with David are going to be blessed because they picked the right leader. They bet on the right horse, if you don't mind me saying it. They cashed in. He said, but surely you will overtake them, and without fail you will recover all. So David went and with his 600 men, and these the same 600 men who were talking about stoning him. David went with his 600. He's the same 600 men that never thought to pursue Yahuwah. David did. But then again, there's no reading where he anointed these 600 men. He only anointed David. This is why the book said, touch not my anointed. Do my prophet no harm. Psalms 105 and 15. If you were listening to Shabbat message, we read about that in the book of 1 Samuel, was it chapter 19? Where Saul sent his men to go after David. And every time they came to get David, Yahuwah made them bow down to David. Even Saul himself. He wanted to kill David. This is the jealousy that's inside of Yasharel. That many of you don't want to deal with. This is the bitterness in your heart for leadership. You don't want to deal with those who are anointed. You don't want, because you feel like, what makes you so special? Why can't I be anointed? I don't know. Before you're getting ready to get cast into hell, you ask Yahuwah why. He'll tell you. Maybe. He might tell you because your ass is so goddamn selfish, that's why I didn't anoint your wicked ass. Why you asking me questions you already know the answer to? He may tell you that, sister. Probably he might tell you exactly that. Have you considered that? Yahuwah, why did you burn me down in this goddamn apartment? Because your wicked ass wouldn't get up and leave when you were asked to. That's why. You found safety in your own head. Never understanding that your decision was going to cause you much dread. You know what dread is? Misery. But you didn't even consider that part. Because you were so persuaded that Yahuwah had changed his word for you. And you are wrong. But let's go on here. So all 600 of these men that were with him, they came to the brook of Besor, and where those that were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and 400 men, but 200 abode behind, which were so tired that they could not go over the brook of Besor. And they found an Egyptian in the field, and they brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat, and they made him drink water. And they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him, his strength came back. For he had eaten no bread nor drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. Isn't that the same time that plague was, brothers and sisters, in Egypt? 3 days and 3 nights of famine, darkness, death. It's going to happen. It's going to happen again. Yahuwah does not change. These are patterns. This Torah, this Tanakh, help us to understand these patterns. That's why these teachings are so extremely important. So that we can truly understand the ways of Yahuwah and not make these, absurd proclamations. Like somehow or another, Yahuwah is with you, sister, because you love him. You might love him, but he don't love you because you're in rebellion. So you can love him all you want, but he doesn't love you. What did Yahuwah say that, all your love, he said, you were not keeping my Torah, you were rebelling against my leadership. He said, your prayers are an abomination to him. That's Proverbs 28:9. Why you didn't read that? Why are you ignoring that? But you're the same ones who will ignore Isaiah, 4:1, because you don't want to deal with that Yahuwah going to have 7 of you little wenches begging a man to take away your sin, because he ain't taking it away. But you don't want to deal with that reality. So you project upon him your illusion that somehow or another you can change the word because that's how you feel about it. Well, guess what, sister? You are wrong. You've been wrong for far too long. And now you lack understanding. So you're going your way, thinking that you're going to drag Yahuwah by the ear behind you. And Yahuwah said, no, you not. You ain't dragging me with you. Yeah, you going, but I ain't going with you. You're going to be the one that's going to be desolate. You're going to be the one without a man. You're going to be the one where the vineyards are overgrown, the cucumbers. You're the one that's going to be perceived by your enemy because you're going to get caught on the outside of the goddamn gate. You're going to get caught up behind enemy lines. And same thing to you, brother, before you start huffing and puffing. So you're going to be slain in the streets. The dogs going to eat you. The birds of the air going to eat you. The rats and the other predator animals are going to eat. The flesh-eating animals going to eat you up. If you're not all the way dead, when they finish with you, you're going to be dead. One of them big giant neutral rats grab your eyeball and snatch it out while you still got breath in your body. You'll know then with that other eye when you see it eating that eye. And then you're going to wish you had listened. Then you're going to wish you hadn't let your pride get in the way. Your masculinity or your effeminacy, your femininity. Because a lot of you are hiding your femininity behind masculinity. I said you're hiding your effeminate way, your effeminate ways behind, this shell of masculinity. Because if you were a true man, you would understand that you need to be with other righteous men, not sitting out there by yourself, vulnerable. That's a female's, at best, mentality. Sitting alone. A righteous man knows better than that. A righteous man reads the words for understanding. Iron sharpens iron. A righteous man understands 2 is better than 1. A righteous man says that, no, I'm going to follow a righteous leader that Yahuwah placed in front of me, and I'm going to follow him. What did Joshua tell us? Let's go over there real quick. We'll be back. We're going to go back and forth a little bit. See, this is what the Dows and the Jennings and all, they will never do this, brothers and sisters. They will never teach for understanding. They're going to teach you for persuasion. This is why those of you who support this work, support it. And this is why those of you who don't support this work, you don't support it. Because you're not interested in what is true. You're interested in just, how you say, peeking in. You're not going to do it, although you will suffer yourself to listen to it. But look at this. This is the book of Joshua, chapter 1. I'll start reading to you at verse 16. And the people answered Joshua, saying, all that you command us, we will do. Now they're talking to Joshua, not Yahuwah. Again, they're talking to Joshua, not Yahuwah. And they're telling Joshua, whatever you command us to do, we're going to do it, Joshua. Sister Melanie put that in the comments the other day. I saw you, sister. Praise Yahuwah for you. She wasn't the only one that said it, though, but I'm just, saying. I saw you. Praise Yahuwah for all of you who understand how important this is. Yahuwah bless you for that. Because you're being honest. You're following Yahuwah's direction. You're not following your way. You say, no, I'm following the prophet, just like Yahuwah told me to do. I can read. And they answered, again, Joshua chapter 1, verse 16. And they answered Joshua, saying, all that you command us, we will do. And wherever you send us, we will go. So as I said earlier, why are some of you out there talking about, where am I going to go? I've already told you, if you're with me, you're coming with me. If you're not with me, you better find out who you need to be with and get over there, because you're out of time. Any day now, you can get that 3 days of darkness. Any day now. While you're over there, hesitant, contemplating, because you really know you're not going to do anything anyway. You're just trying to, bide the time. You've already made your decision and you know it. But you'll never be honest enough to tell yourself the truth. That's called reprobate. What you hear say about the reprobates and the bastards? See, I have nothing to do with them. Verse 17, Joshua chapter 1, verse 17. According to as we listen unto Moses in all things, so will we listen unto you. Only Yahuwah Almighty be with you, as he was with Moses. And whosoever he that rebels against your commandments, Joshua, man of Yahuwah, chosen and anointed man of Yahuwah, as it was with Moses, as it is right now with you, Elder DFG, we will listen to you. And we will have no problem with it, as long as we see you listening to Yahuwah. And you go back in the 1,000+ video, you know who I'm listening to. If you with us on Wednesday night, you know good and so well what this man's going to be doing every Wednesday night. If you care about Yahuwah and honor his Shabbat, you already know what you're going to find on this channel. So you don't have to question who I'm listening to. You need to question who you're listening to. Because it could be you're listening to the worst enemy you've ever found in your life. The enemy you call yourself. Or at least Yahuwah calls yourself. And that's a big mistake. That will cause you to want to kill or stone the man of Yahuwah. Hate him, disdain him, speak evil about him, allow things to happen to him, and you have no response. Again, verse 18. Whosoever that rebels against your commandments, Joshua, and will not listen unto your words, Joshua, and all that you command him. It's saying, Joshua, whoever you give a commandment to, if they refuse to listen to you, I'm not talking about Yahuwah here, I'm talking about Joshua. He shall be put to death. And what they're saying, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill her. You guys remember in 2 Kings chapter 9, when Joab came looking for Jezebel? Remember, she was up there on her porch with her little, had beautified herself, made herself look attractive, taking good care of herself. You know how she rolled. Using her looks for access to what she wanted, but denying that she was using her looks. What did Joab tell those eunuchs who were with her? He said, throw her over that balcony. He said, who are y'all that are with me? Throw her over that balcony. And what did they do? They listened to Joab, and he was a king. They threw her ass right over that balcony, broke her neck. He rode over her with his carriage, and the dogs ate her. And they went to have supper. Talking about Joab, and they went eating. And Joab was upset. He said, you know what? Y'all go bury Jezebel. And people went to go bury her with nothing left but her hand. Dogs, just like Jeremiah 15:3 said, the dogs going to eat them. Dogs had eaten Jezebel. None but her hands were left. Think her skull. This book said the soul that sin is going to die. That is, what is that? Jeremiah 18:4. He said the soul that sin is going to die. He said, I don't have any pleasure in their death. He said, but no, they brought that on themselves. What these men are telling Joshua, anybody that rebels against you, Joshua, or the anointed of Yahuwah, as it is today, say anybody that rebels against you, the anointed of Yahuwah, we will put them to death. So all you ones out there who are professing courageous, are you willing to put someone to death for rebelling against this truth? Are you ready to be put to death for rebelling against this truth? Because either way, it's going to happen. Nothing new under the sun. Remember, Solomon taught us that. Not a single thing new. As it was before, so shall it be again. Yahuwah is judging this whole earth. A lot of these people have already got that plague in their bodies. It's only a matter of time before that plague going to make them mad. Talking about they're going to lose their cognitive abilities, and they're going to start doing things and behaving in ways, brothers and sisters, that some of you are going to be absolutely terrified of. And you living amongst them right now, by the way. And heaven forbid if you're living among Edomites or an Edomite. You have no idea what he's going to do to you. But you will wish you had listened. He say, only be strong and be of good courage. This is what they're telling Joshua. Joshua, look, just be strong. So we don't have a problem, Joshua, with you sounding like a man. Joshua, we don't have a problem with you being bold and courageous. Joshua, we don't have a problem with you not being humble. Joshua, we don't have a problem with you being aggressive. Joshua, we don't have a problem with you being authoritative. Joshua, we don't have a problem with you being uncompromisingly. No, we need you to be that way. There are too many heathens among us, Joshua, for you to be soft. And David had that same mindset, that same mentality. Moses had it too, by the way. Go read Numbers 25. We talked about this before. Go read Numbers 32. No, Exodus 32. And you see where Moses told those Levites to go slaughter all those rebellious Israelites and the strangers who were among them. He didn't spare them strangers either. There were some strangers that came out of Egypt, but they were just as wicked as the Israelites who had come out of Egypt. Matter of fact, they were the ones encouraging them to be rebellious. Let's go back over to zigzag, 1 Samuel, chapter 30. You see, I'm going to say something about rebuking these demons, brothers and sisters, and they are everywhere. Elder has seen them. I've seen them on property that I'm currently on. I look at them, they notice I look at them, and they transform back into like poles and, other little objects on that land. And I just look at them and say, I saw you. I'm not afraid of them. They're afraid of me, though, because they see that anointing. And if I see them, I don't know how y'all don't see them, because they're watching and they're waiting. And when that day of darkness comes, they'll visit you. For Ezra 15 talks about what they're going to do to you. Kick in your doors, plunder you, ravish you, and worse. You can read it for yourself, for Ezra chapter 15. My job is to warn you. And I will warn you. But in the process of warning you, I'm also doing exactly what David said, Yahuwah, shall I go? And I got my answer. And if you're coming with me, I advise you to reach out. And not in the comments. You better email me. You better say something. And you better mean it too. Because if you lie, Yahuwah going to know you lying. And if you decide not to come, just remember, go find who you following if you don't get caught behind enemy lines. But you better make sure who you following is not your enemy, although you think they may be your friend. David said words can be smooth as butter, brothers and sisters. They are charmers. They'll give you things that you want, sisters. They'll do all these things for you, sisters, make you feel comfortable, make you feel safe sometimes. But they are not your friend. They have mastered the art of deception. They're enchanters. There are a lot of them in my family. I have blood relatives who are enchanters. I know an enchanter when I see one. They got those smooth words, got those clever words, and they'll try to pull you in with them smooth words. They'll try to pull you in with those clever words, hoping that they can catch you vulnerable. The shit ain't going to work over here, family members. I'm talking about those who, when I say family, I'm talking about blood, like clan inside the clan, with a C, not K, family members. That ain't going to work on me. Your ass better be fully repentant, serving Yahuwah, and we'll meet you on the other side. The only one I identify as family is those who keep this Torah. Not working on it, doing it. Not trying, doing. Not saying, doing. With fruit to back it up. Sacrifices that you have made for the greater good to back it up. For us. And if you're incapable of doing that, then that's fine. But just understand, I don't identify you as a family member. At least not anymore. So let me just be honest with you, because that's what I'm being. That way you don't waste your time. And many of us have that same testimony to our family members, so I'm not alone. We walked away from them for a reason. Not necessarily because they were bad people. They were just misdirected people who turned their back on the truth when we brought it to them. They didn't want to hear it. So we say, okay, fine. You'll regret it, though. Not hearing it and not obeying it. So it's not just about hearing it. You got to have fruit. Again, you got to have something that proves. Watch this. Show you what I mean. Let's pick back up. 1 Samuel chapter 30. Now we see that some of the men that were with David, they were tired, so they had to stay back. Let's go now at verse 11. Verse 12, they found the Egyptian young man. They fed him. So let's go down to verse 13. And David said unto him, to whom belong you? And where are you? And Ezra is saying, where do you come from? Or at least who you belong to. That's probably a better way to say that. So who you belong to, young man? Who you with? Verse 30, and David said unto him, to whom belong you? And where are you? Or where did you come from? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, a servant to the Amalekites, our enemies, which is typically Edomites. And my Adonai left me because 3 days ago I fell sick. And we made an invasion upon the south of Kerdan and upon the coast that belongs to Judah. He was telling them that we were robbing and plundering like Trump in America is doing all over the earth. We were scorched-earth predators. We were going around stealing. We didn't have what we want, so we went and stole it from somebody else. We used force. We used violence, like they always do to get what they want. Nothing new to see there. And like I said, all of you who are complying with that, you know what I'm saying, who don't have an issue with that, you're going to do the same thing. Whatever he does to them, he's going to do to you. It don't matter if you're an Israelite or not. It doesn't matter if you're an Edomite or not, a Canaanite or not. You're guilty by association. He went on to say, and we made an invasion upon the south of Kerdan, and upon the coast which belongs to Judah, and upon the side of Caleb, and we burned Zigzag with fire. And David said unto him, can you bring me down to this company? And he said, swear 7 oaths unto me, by Almighty Elohim Yahuwah, that you will neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my Adonai, or my master, and I will bring you down to this company. So this young man is saying, you got to promise me you ain't going to return me back to them heathens. If you promise you're not going to, return me back to those heathens, then I'll tell you what you want to know. Even he had enough sense to know that they were about to get destroyed. And many of you are hanging out with these heathens, or turning back to these heathens. Many of you are listening to double channels, duplicate channels. And you come over here, and you disrespect me by calling me Dale. I'm not no damn Dale. You don't know me on a personal level like that. I didn't give you permission to call me Dale. Who the hell do you think you are? This title says DFG. You can't say that, then just don't say anything. Oh, you being prideful? No, I'm not. This book says you give honor to honor is due. You go call President Trump Donald? You know you don't. Don't lie and say you do. You called President Obama Barack? You called Joe Biden, hey Joe. Or your mayor? Your governor? Your councilman, your councilwomen? You don't say councilman Dust and such. You don't walk in there and call them by their first name. And these are heathens. But then again, from wicked come wickedness. I understand why you did it. But I'm not impressed. And you will be rebuked every time you do it. Matter of fact, you do it again, you'll be blocked from this channel and you'll never be able to come back. Because I've already warned you for being in 2 places. Sister Jackie, see? From Florida. Not letting you witches hide no more. We already talked about that. If you're a witch, I'm going to expose you. Better when I can validate that you're a witch. Verse 15, by name. And David said unto him, can you bring me down to this company? And he said, we already read that. Pick up verse 16. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil possessions that they had taken out of the hand of the Philistines and out of the land of Judah. It's like America right now celebrating about the oil they got, the gold they got, the silver that they have, boasting and bragging about it. Bitcoin, you name it. Celebrating, dancing, having a great old having a great old time. Eating and drinking. Just like they were doing again in Exodus chapter 30. The people laid down, to sleep, and got up, to play. And Yahuwah said, have on. Serving their golden calf. Gold again. But they didn't understand that was going to end up a bad day for them. They might have started in fun, but it wasn't going to end in fun. Because you woke up today with no problem don't mean you're not going to end the day with many, many problems. And if Yahuwah's not with you, I wouldn't want to be you. Because you have no idea how a day can end. But if Yahuwah's with you, I can assure you one thing, you will win. But he ain't with you if you ain't with him. And you're not with him if you ain't going to obey his prophet. You're going to disrespect authority and leadership. The men that were with David respected and obeyed David. When he said, let's go, they went with him. 200 stayed behind to protect the people, or they were tied. But the other 400 left and was with David. Even though they were threatening him earlier, they still understood he was in charge. They didn't let their pride get in the way. He said, no, he's the boss. What he says, that's what we're doing. He knows the way. Let's follow him. You want to get your stuff back? You want to be restored everything that the palmer worm, the cankerworm, the caterpillar took? Then you better go with him who knows where to lead you to get it. You want to receive Yah's blessing? You better go with Moses, and so he can make sure that those blessings come upon you. When he leaves, whatever he leaves with, you're going to have some of it too. You can read about that also in Jasher chapter 80 and 81. This book tells us the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the just. I believe it. I don't know about you, but I do. Y'all say, I'm going to let them stack up their silver. I'm going to let them stack up their gold and whatever else they have. But ultimately, I'm going to take it all from them and give it to those who actually deserve to have it. I'm going to restore it to his rightful owners. And his rightful owners are those of us who uncompromisingly obey Yah's messenger. They follow direction and they follow leadership. And they don't struggle with it at all. They understand it's important, it's paramount. It's Yahuah's way. He set up authority. He set up leadership. So who are I to go against Yahuah's process? But think about how many people, and some of you who think just the opposite. Yahuwah put leadership in place, and you decide you ain't following nobody. And you think that's your best decision. Woman, man, you're going to relive to regret that decision. That's a crap. That is a dumb ass decision you're making. And if I wasn't trying to help, I wouldn't say that to you. Even though you're not going to listen anyway. To authority or leadership. Because you don't approve of it. Like you have a choice in approving who Yahuwah puts in leadership. You don't. And you'll never have a choice in it. The only choice you have is to follow it or not follow it. Picking back up. Verse 17. And David smote. He found them drinking and drunk and just acting wild, reverent, just like they were doing in Exodus chapter 32 when Moses came down and Joshua from the mountain saw Aaron and all of them down there, fornicating. Orgies. Same in that, orgies and all kind of other rivalry, drunkenness, using drugs, praying to idols, bowing down to devils and heathens, serving their flesh. Like you can see any day, anywhere, all over this flat earth. But let's continue on here. Just like America is celebrating what they did, that celebration is not going to be very long. They can go attack Iran. They can go attack whoever they want to attack. it's only going to ricochet back. And when it does, it's going to come with great wrath. And all you Americans, Israelite Americans, you wait and see what's going to happen to you. Well, I ain't no American. Well, then you are American if you ain't keeping this Torah. Either with Yahuwah or you not. Just like Joshua said, all of those who serve Yahuwah over here. Moses said the same thing too. Go read Exodus chapter 32. Read towards the end. Moses told him, whose side you on? Make a decision. You can't be between two. If you choose both, then you choose the one against Yahuwah. Better make up your mind. Double-minded man, Yahuwah said, don't ever trust a double-minded man or woman. These are you who can't make a decision and stand by the decision that you made. Come hell or high water, come the fire or come the flood. You stand by that decision. Or Yahuwah will not count you as the redeemed. That's Isaiah 43 in a nutshell. Verse 17. Again, let's pick up like the rest of verse 16. And they were eating and drinking and dancing, and because of all the great spoil, things they had stolen, that they had taken out of the land of the Philistine, and out of the hand of the land of Judah, our people. And David smote them from between twilight even until the evening. What did David do? Did he go hug them? Did he say, everybody's the same? We all bleed the same blood? Why can't we all just get along? Can I talk to you? Can we come to a compromise? That ain't what David said. The book said David went and smite them. He took war out on them. He started kicking ass and taking names. Him and his men. He said, you touched our stuff? You possessing our women, our children? And you partying and celebrating and bragging about it? Saying, no, we're not going to have no conversation, friend. No, we're not going to have a treaty. We ain't going to make no deal, Trump. So the only deal we're going to make, we're going to slaughter you. Then you'll know don't touch you who is anointed. And those that belong to the anointed. Say David went to war and fought them from twilight until the evening. And from early morning, to night. Or early evening early morning, afternoon to evening. And the next day. And there escaped not a man of themselves, save the 400 young men which rode upon camels and fled, the cowards. See, all this stuff America is doing, they going to do this stuff, brothers and sisters, somebody else show up on the scene that's bigger and badder than them. Who that is? It's not going to be Russia. It's not going to be China. It's going to be the people from the north. It's going to be the people from behind the wall. How many of you guys remember the Game of Thrones? Remember the Night Watchers? The Night Walkers, I'm sorry. The ones behind the wall. Remember the Game of Thrones? Remember they had the soldiers on the wall? Then you had the people, the wildlings behind the wall. Then you had the Night Walkers who you could not kill. If you did kill them, they came back as a Night Walker. The blue-eyed ones. Them. They were normal, and then when they died, they came back as blue-eyed demons. And they went to war with the 7 kingdoms, remember? Now that's a story, that's art imitating life. They're telling you something with that series. Some of us understood it. Many of you don't even know what I'm talking about. I get it. And that doesn't really matter. But what matters, if you're behind enemy lines, you are going to be destroyed. You behind that wall? Before them, they ran. 18. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away. And David rescued his 2 women. Again, Yahuwah, I'm going to return everything back to you that How about if we finish there? We'll finish there. Let's finish up here and then we'll go there. And there was nothing lacking to them, that neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil or anything that they had taken to them. And David recovered everything. So brothers, we're going to get it all in the end. The world was made for many, but only a few will be saved. And for us few, Yahuwah said, eye is not seen, ear is not heard, neither has entered to any of our minds the thing that Yahuwah has prepared for us. The blessings, Sister Coke, is unbeknownst. So we have no idea how blessed we're going to be for standing up in this truth and making whatever sacrifices it takes to make sure that this work gets done. Yahuwah said, you have no idea what I'm going to restore back to you for that. And that's for every single person who's committed beyond just words. David said, your cup going to run over, brothers and sisters. Psalms 23. Right before your enemies. Or our enemies, let me say that correctly. And David recovered all. And David took all the flocks and the herd, which he had drove before those other cattle, and said, this is David's spoil. So even David got his cut. So for all you think that the leader should not be blessed, then you are wicked. You're just simply that. You're just wicked. This book says you don't muzzle the mouth of the ox that traded out the corn. That's Deuteronomy. That's the Torah. Deuteronomy 25:4. It said a prophet is worthy of a prophet's reward. Why you have a problem with that? And even worse, why are you helping with that? But David got his part too. And David came to the 200 men which were so faint, and could not follow David, whom they had also made abide by the brook of Besor. And they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people that David were with him. And David came near to the people, and he saluted them. And they answered all the wicked men, and men of Baal, of those that went with David, and said, because they went not with us, we will not give to them anything of the spoil that we have recovered, save every man his woman and his children, and that they may lead them away and depart. In other words, they were simply saying, we ain't giving them nothing. We keeping everything for ourselves. They didn't fight for it. I don't owe them nothing. Just like Abigail's husband. And these were the same men who were standing right there with David, but they were selfish as hell. And you see that same kind of behavior right now. Standing with me, but selfish as hell. They're going to tell the other men who were tired, oh, all you getting back is your family. You ain't getting nothing else. Saying you didn't go out there and do all the stuff. You deserve nothing. Well, David said, oh, no, you ain't nothing, but y'all talking like the devil. See, this was the difference between David and these other heathens. See, this is the difference between this prophet and the Dows and the Jennings and all of these, they're scorched earth predators. They're going to get everything stored up for themselves. This prophet, this work, everything we're doing is for us. And yeah, I am a part of us. And why would you ever have a problem with that except you be a son of Baal? Means a devil. But let's go on, he says. And they would not give aught to the spoil that were recovered, save that every man his woman and children, that they may lead them away and depart. Let's see what David had to say about that. Let's see if David went along with that wickedness. Then David said, you shall not do so, my brethren, with that which Yahuwah has given us, who has preserved us and has delivered the company that came against us into our hand. David said, oh, no, y'all not. You're not leaving. They all going to get some of this. He said, these men have been fighting with us for years. So you just going to forget about them because in this one particular battle, they did not have the energy to fight? And you're just going to just forget about all the other good things they have done? So you're wicked. So he says, since y'all going to be wicked, I'm going to step up and I'm going to make sure they get what they need. And y'all ain't going to do nothing to me. And probably in the back of his mind, he probably saying, plus you the same little wicked ass devil that was talking about stoning me yesterday. Think David forgot about that? I doubt it. You're the same one that left me hanging dry when I was fighting for you. Verse 25. And it was so that day forward that he made a statue and an ordinance. A statue means like a covenant, not like a statue, like a idol. In other words, it's like saying, this is the way. This is going to be a law. This is going to be our stature. A stature. You know what I'm saying? It's like a law. So I'm making a law. From this day forward that he made a stature and an ordinance for Yahshua until this very day. And David came to Ziklag, and he went and he sent of the spoil unto the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, Behold, a present from you, from the spoil of the enemies of Yahuwah. Again, the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the just, brothers and sisters. So don't fret. Just be what is right. Do what is right. And you need to make a decision. And you need to make a decision now. Yahuwah, shall I go? And I already know the answer. Yes, pursue, go, leave. It's time. To them which were in Bethlehem, and to them that was in Ramat-Nev, and to them which were in, these are just different places. They don't have any particular significance. It's just where we were. And to them which were in Asher, again, let's pick up verse 29. But it's just showing David was so merciful and such an honorable leader. As a matter of fact, you can read 29, 30, and 31. And there were David, let's pick at 31, because he's just given everywhere that the people were, that was right and was doing the things that Yahuwah said they should do. They were being blessed, is what he's saying. And David was in position to be the one to distribute that blessings. So he didn't keep everything for himself. He kept a portion for himself, but he made sure everybody else got a portion too. That's what righteous leadership looks like. But Yahuwah was in David. Yahuwah was guiding David's hands, his steps. Yahuwah was the anointer of David. And the people were smart enough to see Yahuwah in David. We're going to wrap this up. Let's go to the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 21. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for Yahuwah will do great things. Be not afraid when the beasts of the field, where the rest of the ones behind the wall, they better be afraid of those beasts, because those beasts going to eat them alive. But he's saying for the righteous remnant, say, no, we don't have to be afraid of those beasts, brothers and sisters. Because where we are, there will be no beast, unless the beasts other than the ones we eat. And when talking about clean food, of course. So be not afraid, you beasts of the field, probably, and of their pastures of the wilderness. Do bring forth and bear, and for the tree that bears her fruit, and the fig tree and the vine that yield their strength. Remember they gave that Egyptian, figs and vines and fruit to eat, and then he what? Shared with them what they needed to know. Got his strength back. He said, I'm going to get y'all. He's going to give us our strength back. He's going to give us our power back, brothers and sisters. All of it. Not just the power some of us are experiencing right now, but all of it, Brother Piani. Everything. Watch this. He says, and the children of Zion rejoice. Who are the children of Zion? Zion, the righteous remnant. He said, children of Zion, rejoice. And be glad in Yahuwah Almighty, because he gives us righteous teachings. That's what this is. Yahuwah sent me to teach us. So he gives us righteous teaching. And a latter rain, the first of the year. So Esau is the end of the world. 2 Ezra writes 6 and 9. But Jacob is the beginning of the new world which follows. This is a restoration statement here. He goes on to say, and the floor shall be full of wheat, and the fat shall overflow the wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, and the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, and my great army which I sent among you. That's who's going to destroy America. Not China, not Russia. Yahuwah's army that's beyond the wall. Not the night walkers, the enemy. The night walkers are beyond that wall, but there's something beyond that wall. And Yahuwah say that's who he's going to come. That's who's really coming from the north. A mighty power, a mighty strength. If you look over it, and it says the same thing over here. Let's push over here to Joel chapter 3. Look at what he says over here, brothers and sisters. Let's start at verse 9. He said, proclaim you this among the nations. Prepare for war. Wake up the mighty men, and let the men of war draw near, and let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. He's saying, get your battle weapons together. And let the weak say, I am strong. No more cowards, just courage now. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round and about. There you shall cause your mighty ones to come down, says O Yahuwah. And let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I will sit to judge the heathen round and about. The same one that David talks about in Psalms 83, that are confederate against us. And the wicked Israelites who are among us. He said, put forth the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. In other words, his time has come. Say, get you down, for the press is full, the fast overflow, for their wickedness is great. And then he goes on and says, the multitudes of multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahuwah is near. It's decision-making time. He said, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, 3 days of darkness, and the stars shall be withdrawn from their shining. And Yahuwah also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall quake or shake. But Yahuwah will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of who? Yasharel. Then he goes on to say, and so shall you know that I am Yahuwah Almighty, dwelling in who? Zion, in my holy mountain. And then shall Jerusalem be holy. And then shall there be no more strangers to pass through her anymore. In other words, no more strangers will be a threat to us. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah, us, shall flow with waters, and the fountain shall come forth from the house of Yahuwah, and shall water the valley of Shittim. And Egypt shall be desolate. All of you ran to Africa. He said he's going to destroy Africa. He said Egypt shall be a desolation. Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. That's talking about America and all of America's allies. He said it shall be a desolate wilderness. And for the violence against, why? Because of the violence of the children against the children of Judah. Told you guys, this thing is all about us. Against the children of Judah, because they have what? Shed innocent blood in the land. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahuwah dwells with us. Zion, which to be interpreted, the righteous remnant. So is it time? Yes, it's time. The question is, do you know that? And if you're aware of that, where are you? Better make yourself known, because we're soon to be gone. And you can bet your last ounce of blood on that. That being said, brothers and sisters, thank you, those of you who are doing the work and helping with this work, supporting this work. Yahuwah sees it. Thumb up this message. It's important. Share it. Important. But the most important thing, you better make up your mind what you're going to do, because we're getting it done and we're doing it. So if you're with us, make it known. Or whoever you're with, that's probably where you need to be, not over here. If you're by yourself, then you're behind enemy lines, so be prepared for what's coming. Trust me, you'll regret not listening. But that's on you. That's your decision to make. My job is what? Just to warn you. I've done it. Again. And y'all willing, I'll be back to share whatever else Yahuwah gives me in these last and final days. before the vicious plagues take over, that stuff in their bodies, and Yah rains fire on this whole earth. Except for that little part that he has cordoned off for the very few righteous ones among us. And if you're looking for me, that's where you're going to find me. In a time very soon to come. And others like me, like-minded. But you won't be able to get there because all the roads are going to be blocked off for you. And that's your fault. You had your chance. You're giving a chance. Will you take it? Who shall I go? Shall we go? Yes, pursue. Shalom, Yashrael. Elder DFG.